Pansy put it up.
Are we ready, Don?
No luck? Ready?
Sound up.
Okay. This evening, we're going to start with our student recognition, and we're going to turn that over to Superintendent Funk.
Okay, what I'd like is to have Kaden Tchaikovsky come on up and have a seat at the table here. Kaden, Stillwater Area High School, Kaden Tchaikovsky has earned academic honors from College Board's National Recognition Program. Kaden received the National Hispanic Recognition Award. Students who qualify have a GPA of 3.5 or higher and outstanding performance on the PSAT, NMSQT, PSAT 10, and/or AP exams. The National Recognition Program honors the strong academic achievements of underrepresented students. They're a great way for students to showcase their hard work in high school. The programs not only benefit students, they also benefit colleges looking to recruit diverse, talented students. Congratulations, Kaden. I told Kaden he'd be in the hot seat for a minute, so if any board members want to ask any questions of him, feel free.
Thank you for joining us, Kaden. Congratulations.
Thank you. It means a lot to me and my family.
Oh, great. Do you have anyone here supporting you?
I do have my dad. My mom wasn't able to make it, unfortunately, but he will.
Congratulations to you, too. It takes the whole family, so I want to recognize you as well. So.
He was a hard worker.
Oh, it sounds like it. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, what do you do at the high school? What are your passions?
So for myself, I don't really, I guess I do go to Stillwater, but I actually do PSU over at the University of Minnesota. And that's where I've been earning all my credits for high school since the start of my junior year. I enjoy, I'm kind of looking into going into computer science, and that's kind of what I've been, curtailing my classes and, what I'm, interested in, I guess, towards that goal. And I'm hoping to maybe graduate in 2027 or 2026, maybe.
Nice. It's so nice to be able to earn those college credits, so congratulations on that, too.
Thank you.
Any questions? Yes, Dr. Hucker.
So are you a senior then?
Yes, this is my senior year at Stillwater.
Oh, great. Do you have any idea where you want to go next year?
I'm thinking maybe the U of M, but depending on where I'm applying to, stuff like that as well, I might be going somewhere out of state. I honestly don't really know yet. A lot of places I'm applying to.
It's okay to not know.
Yeah. Time to figure it out. Thanks.
Yes.
Have you been in the Stillwater schools since the beginning, or?
I moved here from St. Michael Albertville, in between 8th and 9th grade. So I actually started over at Stillwater in 9th grade, and with COVID and all that, it was a little bit different, I guess, but it was definitely an experience. I will tell you that. It was. With everything that was going on, the school still did a good job on, it could, how do you say it? I'd say they did pretty good.
Yes.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Both of my kids actually got that too last year. So got one the year before, I think both of them 2 years ago. Yeah, congratulations. It's definitely a thing of pride, especially with your dad here. So tell me, what motivates you?
I'm motivated by I don't know, I would say that I try to do my best, because I feel like if I don't, then I'm just leaving something on the table. And if I don't do my best, then I might look back at myself later and wonder why I didn't.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Good job.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
We appreciate you coming here. I know it's probably, you have other things you'd prefer to be doing, but we love being able to recognize you and your family, and certainly to your mom, who can't be here, who plays a huge role in this. So
I appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
And thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, before we start our meeting, we're gonna do public comment. And before I call anyone, just a reminder that you'll take a seat up here where Kaden was, and then we have 3 minutes per speaker, and Director Hockert here will kind of nicely hold some cards to keep everyone on time. I'll just briefly read expectations. The school board encourages community input. While comments and questions are welcome, law prohibits the board from discussing concerns about individual employees or students in a public meeting. The board will not deliberate, discuss, or engage in conversation with speakers. However, the board may ask administration to review the concerns presented. Speakers must present their testimony in a respectful manner. Vulgarity, character attacks, malice, or specific complaints identifying staff or students by name or implication will not be permitted. We will stop the proceedings immediately if employee or student privacy issues are raised and direct the speaker to forward comments regarding individual employees or students to the superintendent. And with that, our first speaker this evening is Heidi Louise. Am I saying that right? I hope.
Chair Sherman, can we, is there this noise over here is going to drive me crazy. Can we get rid of that or not?
I can't hear it.
Can we get rid of that noise over here? No?
Sorry, I'm not hearing it.
You're not hearing it?
It's
Where's it coming from?
I don't know. Something somewhere here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, from there some. Check your computers.
Really? I thought it was coming from over here. Okay.
Hi, welcome.
Hi there, thank you for having me.
Yes.
All right. Hello members of the school board, district administration, and fellow community members. My name is Heidi Louise, and I live on 3rd Street South here in Bayport. And we have Finn over there. He's one of the district's newest little ponies. I'm here tonight to say thank you. Thank you for leading our district with a growth mindset. As hard as it may be sometimes, things shouldn't always stay the same. If that's the case, it means we're not growing in our humanity, are experiencing a lack of empathy for those around us, or are willfully neglecting certain challenges needing to be addressed. The hardest conversations are often those surrounding the most important decisions needing to be made. I applaud you and everyone else involved in the discussions, both about the district-wide needs as well as the larger acreage needed for Anderson, and am proud to support both the levy and the efforts to keep an elementary school in Bayport. By proposing this bond, the district is recognizing and embracing the ever-changing world around us and taking action in order to meet the evolving needs of our young learners today and into the future. Thank you also for your collaboration. Your active conversations with the City of Bayport, the People's Congregational Church, and with the community in moments like this are appreciated. A school is part of the fabric of a community and doesn't operate in a vacuum. When a school thrives, its surrounding community thrives, and I was delighted to hear the update last night where the best of all worlds is a real possibility for our town with the potential for the new Anderson Elementary to be built adjacent to Barker's Helps. Countless data sources show that having good schools nearby increases property values. Additionally, over the past decade, a wild number of studies have shown that access to nearby nature helps make kids healthier, happier, and smarter. What a truly special opportunity we have here to benefit everyone in the community. The joint use of city-owned land by the school district has already been proven to be a successful arrangement, as Anderson students currently use the city's Perro Creek Park for recess, along with the school playground sitting on city property. This precedence already exists here in town and can easily transfer to other properties. And finally, thank you for being a voice for our children. It's easy to get swept up into adult conversations and forget that children are whole people too. They are a core part of our community, and while they have no interest in discussions like this, it's our job as adults to ensure they have access to high-quality, modern, and safe learning experiences. One of the fundamentals of life that we learn early on as children that should hopefully stick with us no matter our age is that sharing is caring. And I hope to see continued development of the plans to share Barker's Alps with our community's school children. Thank you for your time and for listening.
Thank you. Our next speaker this evening is Kurt Campbell.
Thank you all for giving me an opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Kurt Campbell, and I live at 370 3rd Street South here in Bayport. I come tonight to speak in support of this district doing everything it can to keep a new Anderson Elementary within Bayport. I grew up in a small town, Peshtigo, Wisconsin, where the school campus was attached to a city park. I currently teach in Osceola, Wisconsin, where most of the school campus is attached to a city park. I cannot stress enough how valuable it is for schools to have this opportunity and access. It's not just science or biology classes. All classes can benefit from having good outdoor space with a variety of amenities, trails, and open green space. Placing a new Anderson Elementary on top of a portion of Barker's Alps, or now the possibility of purchasing and using the adjacent People's Congregational property, needs to be seen in terms of what could be, including collaborations between the district, city, and community. All parties can be invested in being good stewards of the space and facilities, including the students. In Osceola, classes regularly clean up Schilberg Park while using it. In my hometown, I and many others signed out of study hall in high school to go to Badger Park when the playground was being replaced, offering our volunteer labor. We have an invaluable opportunity sitting here, ready to be seized upon. We all know that the current Anderson Elementary is nearing the end of its lifespan. Keeping Anderson within Bayport, using Barker's Alps or the People's Congregational property, would allow for the creation of a larger school on a larger footprint with easy access to a larger city park, while allowing Bayport to keep a cherished institution within its city limits. This is a win for so many people. I know there are citizens who have opposed the sale or lease of any portion of Barker's Alps to the district. I can understand and appreciate their desire to protect park space. Hopefully, People's Congregational will approve their letter of intent, and that will satisfy all of those concerns. Regardless of that vote, I hope that you might appreciate what I'm sharing, how we, a district, a school, a city, a community, might make positive use of the space we have available. Underutilized space that is often empty much of the time. We just need to invest in this space. Thank you all for all of you. Thank you for all you have done so far in this effort, communicating with the city and broader community, seeking options to keep Anderson Elementary within Bayport, planning the space and opportunities our children deserve, and fielding what I'm certain is a tremendous amount of both positive and negative feedback. I look forward to the passing of this referendum and the completion of your outstanding work. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Sherry Hayner.
Hello, members of the board, Superintendent Funk. My name is Sherry Hayner and I live in Bayport. I've noticed that my school district taxes have skyrocketed by 41% over the last 10 years. And you're speaking of 21st century schools, but never define what that truly means. I can see that even with 72% of the general fund paying for highly trained employees, this district has left 50% of our third graders unable to read proficiently. I can't understand how that is acceptable or how a multi-million-dollar building is going to cure illiteracy. Stillwater Schools has spent over $171 million this year according to your own budget. 10 years ago, we had 400 less students, 34 million fewer dollars to spend, and yet 74% of our children could read well, even though they were in these older, smaller schools. It's no secret that Minnesota taxes have gone up by $1 billion and that the district is slotted to receive at least $12 million of the brand new funding. You're asking our taxpayers to give you another $8 million a year over the next 20 years, and I have to ask you, when is it going to be enough? You've sold 2 schools under $2.5 million, claiming it was going to save money, but now you want $175 million to build back this classroom space. But you strategically planned this bond referendum in an off year, so there's no fancy signs this time, and you're trying to keep quiet, so people won't ask too many questions, or much less show up in opposition, trying to fly under that radar because the high-priced consultants advise it. As a responsible adult, we must choose to find our needs versus our wants to work within our budgets. I don't have a 21st century kitchen, but my meals come out just fine. You're asking for a lot of money, and you barely have made this case as to why you really need to close Anderson's Elementary. Also, you are robbing our community of a legislatively protected, taxpayer-funded park, Barker's Alps. You are consistently more concerned with the students who may come to the district than you're thinking about keeping the children that you already have. You are preoccupied with the potential new taxpayers and houses that haven't even been built yet, rather than being good stewards to the millions in funding that your currently long-standing taxpayers faithfully pay you each year. I didn't go to a 21st century school, but I can read and I can add, and I know when I'm not being told the truth. And I can plainly see that in our small town of Bayport is being gaslit into being upset with our city council, our neighbors, instead of directing the attention to the source of the conflict, which is the school board. It is poor project management and lack of respect for taxpayers. I encourage you, please, to go back to your board, go back to the drawing board, do what's right, in collaboration with the taxpayers, enthusiastic buy-in, and stop strong-arming our city council with aggressive ultimatums and splitting rhetoric and damaging relationships and dividing this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Dave Farr.
All right, hi members of the board, my name's Dave Farr. I live on 9th Street here in Bayport. A little background on myself quick. I grew up in the Stillwater School District my entire life. I graduated from Stillwater High School, and I chose to move my family back to this community for one of the very reasons is for my kids to get an education within this district. Now, I sit in front of you today with no script, just shooting off the hip, and to be honest, I was asked to come here on Sunday and speak to you from members of the community that are struggling with the sale of any part of Barker's Alps for the new school. I understand that you guys need a certain amount of land to build a new school, correct? Can you guys answer questions when it comes to like size of school or size of land that you need?
We have, and I think we will again tonight. I think we're going to talk a little bit about that.
So then some questions that I would like to hear tonight, if we can, is the actual size of the land. Last night, we were at a council workshop, and we heard a city council workshop, and we heard that you're potentially looking at the purchase of the church land, which is approximately 10 acres. Well, there's additional land that will need to be provided from what I've heard in the past from the school district to put the size school that you need on that amount of land. Okay, this will be at 15 acres, 16 acres. Last night that was not addressed and was not brought up, and when we asked that question, we get, well, we don't know what that looks like yet. Well, a lot of the members in the community have concerns with this all being like a projection. We don't have a plan set forth.
I'll show you a concept tonight. You'll see one in a few minutes.
Perfect, all right. And I like to hear that, like I'm not against you guys and against this one bit, right? But I stand here with a lot of concerns, a lot of concerns that people have on 5th Avenue, 2nd Avenue, 9th Street. That area that we live on currently is used as a cut-through through town. We have a lot of excess traffic that runs that stretch of 2nd Avenue down to 9th, down to 5th. And that has been a concern for years. A lot of my neighbors have had concerns with speeding, and there's not a lot of area for our children to walk because there's no sidewalks. So another question I have is, what are we doing infrastructure-wise? If we do put the school at the church, what are we going to do? There's no sidewalks on 5th Avenue, there's no sidewalks on 9th Avenue, there's no sidewalks on 2nd Avenue. How are we going to address those situations for kids that are going to walk to school? So
thank you.
That's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Mary Hand.
Hello again. I really didn't know what I was going to talk about, but I want to share a conversation that I had with a man at Barker's Alps while I was passing out a Vote No pamphlet. And I don't know if you've ever been to Barker's Alps to talk to anybody who has their kids there. Have you? There are kids there often, and you could get a lot of information there from your constituents. As you know, the school district attracts only 70% of the children available here, and there are thousands that are waiting to get on charter school rosters. Is it because of old buildings like Anderson? No. It's because the board and the school staff have failed to listen to their constituents. Or should I say, you're not interested in listening to us. Recently, I talked to a man, and I asked him, well, how's your kids doing? He had kids in Oakland School. And he said there aren't enough teachers there for his kids in the AP classes. He wants you to invest your money in well-trained, well-educated teachers, not in buildings. He wants you to hire people who are passionate about teaching, who want to create enthusiastic atmospheres for their kids to learn, whether it's in an old school, like Anderson, or if it's in a new school, like Rutherford. A shiny new school will not solve the problems of mistrust that have been brewing for years between communities and the school board. Put the taxpayer dollars where they count, into teachers and students. We are tired of seeing schools closed, communities disrupted, and the school district still losing market share because of poor student performance. A shiny new school will not answer these problems. I'm voting no, and I encourage everyone else to vote no on this bloated bond bill.
Our next speaker is Ashley, I'm going to pronounce this. Sigalski. Thank you, Ashley. Good try. All right. Hi, my name is Ashley Sigalski. I have 2 children who attend Anderson Elementary. I know that tonight the relocation might not be completely on the agenda, but I wanted to share with the school board and this community my thoughts, as this has been a hot topic and will continue to be until it's finalized. I live in Baytown Township. I don't have any parks near me. I must go to Bayport, Lakeside, or Barker's, or Oak Park Heights, Brecky Park to enjoy a park. Most of the time we pick Lakeside since it's a nicer playground, great scenery. So losing some space at Barker's is not that big of a deal to me because my thoughts and wishes go far beyond this. In 10 years, I may not live at my house. And those that are fighting this move might not be either. But you know who's gonna be here in 10 years? Children. Children that are in this community, and they deserve better. The school is too small. We can't hold FTEs in this space because it doesn't allow for 1.0s for some of our specialists. Our school should be able to have the same music teacher, gym teacher, art teacher, and then those people should be able to grow with our kids year after year as they go through the school. Plus, not having any green space is just completely not fair. I am in this school all the time to help and volunteer, and those who have not set foot in this school in years or who have never been in here should have no opinion. My point is that kids need a new school, and this bond should not equate to Barker's. No matter what, this bond needs to pass, and hopefully we'll have a plan for where the new school will be. The bond is so much bigger than Anderson as well. This will help Lake Elmo, Oakland Middle, the high school. Having the church property as a potential option is a great trade-off to show or to use less of Barker's, and hopefully those who are against it can be more on board.
I am all in for a new school, and no matter where it is, our community and future children need this. And I would love for it to stay in Bayport, as I think the businesses need it. Think of future generations who will come to the school. Businesses will lose the loyalty of families because they don't need to travel to Bayport because the school will be in Baytown or West Lakeland. I know Anderson will continue to work with Mabel's and other businesses, but they will lose so much because the school really ties to this community. I love knowing the school could also be across the street from a fire station, as right now we are right next to a police station, and it gives me a sense of security. I will also say that if anyone says that the new school should not be near a prison, it should just stop, because everywhere in Bayport, it's near the prison. And if you can have a park near the prison, and everyone's okay with that, then a school is just the same. And currently, Anderson is 0.8 miles from the prison that we keep talking about. So thank you for all of you who have put your time into this. It's not easy to give out this information, and I commend you all on your process, as I know it's not easy. Thank you.
Our next speaker tonight is Mike McCarthy.
You've got a tough job, the school board. A lot of people out here in the audience and other evenings don't think you listen. And we have different views on the way we look at the world. I don't share your progressive worldview. A lot of people don't agree with my more traditional belief systems. But we can have common ground. And tonight I'm here to help. Mike's smiling. But it's true. It really is true. At Fixing Stillwater Schools, our website, mn834.org, that's mn834.org, is a map of sexually age inappropriate and vulgar books now in our school libraries. You can pull it up on your phone right now. In fact, anybody here can just pick up their phone, put in mn834.org, and on the home page you're going to find a little bar that says lewd books. In fact, you can do it right now while we're speaking. We can be interactive here tonight. It's excellent, easy to use. When you pull up the map, you'll see an icon for each of the school buildings in our school district. Click on one, you'll see a list of books show up on the side, and you'll say, well, what's the problem with these books? Aren't these people talking about books? Just crazy people. Just crazy people. Don't listen to them. Take a look at the individual books on the left, click on one, scroll down. You'll get the descriptions and the quotes of that particular book in that particular school on this particular day, right now. Don't need to take my word for it. And you're accountable as a governing body for what's going on in the school district. You're accountable to pick up your phone and do what I've just described. So you scroll down, and I wish I could break your rules, because the rules of coming to speak here say no obscene material, and the material on that website is too obscene to present to you here tonight. But you're still putting it in the hands of minors, of children. So we've done the homework for you, starting with a list of 70 books listed on our website, and I want to emphasize this is not book banning. These books remain available to parents everywhere else, but our public school libraries should be safe places for minors. At home, we set medications out of reach for kids' safety. At school, we limit sharp objects and dangerous chemicals. These things are not banned. Instead, grown-ups discern what is appropriate to protect children. That is what grown-ups are supposed to do. So, we can start tonight. mn834.org, and we can look at these books. You, between now and the next meeting, are free to act. You have information at your fingertips. You don't have to take my word for it. And the next week, next month when we get together for a school board meeting, we can see what's been done, because your action or inaction will speak loudly to how responsive you are to the community. Thanks very much. mn834.org.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Pam Carlson. Our next speaker is Pam Carlson.
Hello, everyone. Chair Sherman, Superintendent, everyone on the board, the staff. I gotta say hi to Mr. D back there. So I just wanted to come in and say thank you, everyone, for what you've been doing for the community. I think it's really important to bring forth this bond. My kids went to Anderson Elementary. We're in 55082. This was their school. This was their place. They loved it here. I was telling somebody, my son, speaking of books, my son, for his Eagle Project, collected 700 and some books, and 600 of them are right here at this place. So it really means a lot to me to look at what we have here and what we can do with it. And I think, boy, that place up there on the hill would be absolutely wonderful. But I understand that maybe everything needs to be worked out, and I'm 100% behind that. As well as the Lake Elmo School. It's so important to be able to have a new school. I've spent a lot of time in this building. I subbed. I did a lot of volunteer work, all the carnivals. Let's see. Oh, I volunteered a lot for reading. I would come in. I used to travel a lot for work, and I had to have the opportunity to come in here and read with the kids. So I understand what this building offers, but more importantly, the teachers. So that's really all I wanted to say. I wanted to say this is what's important, is what we're doing. So thank you.
Thank you. And with that, public comment is closed, and we will call the regular business meeting to order. Joan, roll call, please.
Director Hocker. Here. Director Kelsenberg.
Here.
Director Lauer.
Here.
Director Petrie. Here. Director Corbeni.
Here.
Director Thielander.
Here.
Chair Sherman.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great. And now we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance with the flag in front. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve tonight's agenda. Can I get a second, please?
I'll second.
Great. Director Hockert with a second. All those in favor of approving tonight's agenda, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Opposed? Agenda approved. Today, we do not have student report. We have active student council members, and they are busy in their sports activities, so we will see them next time. Now we'll go to Superintendent Funk's superintendent report.
Good evening, Chair Sherman, members of the board. Mike Funk, your superintendent. Tonight, I'm going to talk about really three things. First of all, our students. Secondly, about taxes. And the third thing, really, about Anderson Elementary. You know, we've heard a lot of great commentary tonight about the needs the district is facing. We've heard some commentary about the fiscal spending of the school district. As a superintendent, since 2005, I have always had a student-centered focus for making all the decisions that I make and the recommendations that I make to the school board. So that's why in front of you tonight, I have the kids on this slide. Go back a slide, please. The kids on this slide. Because really tonight, what we're talking about when making decisions are our students. And, you know, I think we hear a lot of conversation in the community about location of a school, need for a school. But at the end of the day, we're trying to provide the best environment for all of our students throughout the entire district. And that's something I want to keep in the minds of everybody when we're talking about this, this bond and issues related to it. Go ahead to the next slide. So back in probably March timeframe, we had a facilities team get together, community members, community leaders, members of the school district, and I provided that team really 3 priorities. 1, we want to provide the best educational environment that meets the needs of our students and staff. And so when I sit here at Anderson Elementary in their media center, which also happens to be their art room, and I have other buildings in the district that have pristine media centers with their own art rooms, their own music rooms. I think my niece used to teach here last year at Anderson, and the nickname for the music room in the basement, I think, is the Dungeon. How is that the best educational environment for all of our students? It's not. So as superintendent, my charge is to ensure we have the best environment that meets the needs of our students and staff. 2, whether we believe it or not, we need to prepare the district for future growth. There's a reason why we have the fastest growing community as identified by the Star Tribune in our district, because you see the houses going up. So it would be a travesty if I stepped before you and said, oh, well, we're just going to have to wait and see. Even if this bond passes in November, we're not going to be able to open new schools till 2026. So we need to prepare. And that's my role as superintendent, is to help you plan and prepare. And 3, I think the most important thing, and I have got a track record back to 2005, we have to operate in a fiscally responsible manner. And I have done that every single year I have been a superintendent. That's because I am wide awake, aware of the needs of our taxpayers and the needs of our students, and we need to balance those. And any district I've been the superintendent of, whether it was Boulder, Albert Lee, you can look year after year after year, and we have been fiscally responsible, and we are going to be fiscally responsible in this district moving forward. But at the same time, we need our taxpayers to support our students to meet their needs. So how do we fit within the taxes of the area school districts around here? Next slide. So here's a chart that we have with Stillwater on the far left, and you have South Washington County on the far right. These are the taxes on a $500,000 home, which is the medium-priced home in our school district. These are our levy taxes for operations, for technology, and for bonds. As you can see, Stillwater has $1,615 per student on a home of a $500,000. That's what we tax, $1,615 on a home of a $500,000. If you were in South Washington County, Woodbury, where one of our schools is located, but it's a Stillwater school, their taxes are over $3,000 for the same home. All right. So when I hear that we're overspending our taxes, yeah, I agree. Taxes are high for everybody in the state, but in this district, I think the district is on, well, the proof's in the pudding. They're on the low end, and even if this bond were to pass, okay, we would move over one position in front of Forest Lake. So I understand that taxes are a concern. But so are the needs of our students. Next slide. So people have been asking, okay, what are we talking about for this land on Barker's Alps? What are we talking about for this 10 acres? People's Church is voting tomorrow whether or not to provide the district of a letter of intent to sell the school district to People's Church. They talked about it last night at school board, or at the city council meeting. I want to thank Paul Spilseth for his leadership from People's Church. We have been communicating and having conversations with them for months. And as they stated last night at the city council meeting, I think this could be a potential win-win for everybody involved in the community here. So if you look at the map here, you can see that this school, which is the white building that says entry on it, is on the land of People's Church. There's no part of the school on Barker's Alps. And again, this is a rendering from our architects. This is not the final answer, so things certainly may change. You can see where the bus drop-off is. You can see where the parking lot is. You can also see where the current footprint of the parking lot is, that grade-in area above parking. So essentially, we would be working with the city to expand the parking on Barker's Alps. And you can see that we have some places templated for a playground. You know, we're going to be meeting with the city to see if they want the playground on Barker's or on the potential district land here. But that's the concept. So we would take up some space on Barker's Alps. I heard one of the speakers tonight talk about sidewalks. There's a significant number of grants that I've used previously, safe routes to schools, where you can get grants from the government to put in sidewalks for walking. So this is a concept of what it would look like, but working and talking with both the church and the city, they said, can you do it so that the school is on the 10 acres? And so this is our representation tonight of what that potentially could look like. This is not the final piece, but that's what we're looking at this evening. Next slide. So Bayport, the community, and District 834 are not new to partnering. We have been partnering for decades, and we partner here. If you walk out the back door here, you're on the city playground. We share playground facilities with the district. The city allows us to use the park across the street. They allow us to use Barker's when we do at different points throughout the year. So anything moving forward is not new. We already have a strong partnership with the community. With the new potential location, we also anticipate the partnership to evolve to take into account, okay, what's it going to mean? Are people going to be able to walk on the trails during the day? Yes, they will. Okay, what about St. Croix Prep and they have their baseball, softball teams? Yes, they will still be able to play. It's the city's park. We will partner with the city as we have, like I said, have a decade of experience working with the city over the past, as I stated, decades. So I just want to close tonight by once again, thanking the leadership of the People's Church for working with us on this. I want to thank the leadership of the community of Bayport, and I understand they're going to have to agree to, expansion of the parking lot and some of these other pieces here. But I really believe that this is what happens when you work together on a common goal. And the common goal here is what's best for our kids. So that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Are there any questions for the superintendent for his report? I know this is, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, thank you for the update, because it's nice to be able to see it on a map, how unobtrusive it is when it's actually, on the church land. Back to the discussion about sidewalks.
Yes.
I mean, has there been any discussion with the city specifically about that yet?
We've talked about the need. I don't have a template of what that would look like, but they're aware of the need for walking to the new location.
Yes, Director Petrie.
Thank you for that. I mean, I'm cleared up a few points that I think people were interested in knowing about. Can you talk a little bit about what, we know that this vote is going to be tomorrow night by the church. What would be next steps after that then?
Then what we would do is once we get the letter of intent, I would sign it and then come to you in probably the regular meeting in a month from now with a purchase agreement, formal purchase agreement, contingent upon the passage of the levy, similar to what we did in Lake Elmo. And then you would vote to approve the purchase agreement, and then it would be contingent upon the passage of the referendum.
And then if I could just follow up, so, because I'm sure that this is a question that people would be interested in. At what point would we have more solid drawings for, I mean, would we wait until after the bond election? Because we probably don't want to pay architects
Renderings.
to do renderings that, you know, if it doesn't pass.
What I can tell you is if you go back, I mean, we can show you a larger projection of this, but what I can share with you is our intent is to keep the school on the 10 acres, keep one of the parking lots on the 10 acres. The other parking lot will have to be part of Barker's Alps. And then really the other pieces will be discussions with the city on where we want, do they want a playground on Barker's or not, and how that fits with how we operate with the school. So I don't think you're going to get too much more detail before the bond is passed.
And I think the way I see it is these conversations are going to be ongoing for a long time. Like you said, the schools don't open until 2026. So what they look like and where elements are, I mean, you did talk about having kind of focus groups.
Yeah, so we'll have user groups.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's real important here, I think, and I think it's important to the community to hear this as well as the people of the church, we want this to be an environmentally friendly school. And we want it to really fit into the nature of the park. And so we have told People's Church, who have got some expertise in the environment, absolutely, we want you to be taking part in some of these discussions, and people in the wider community as well. So this is the initial concept. We will have these groups pending passage of the referendum in November that will meet throughout the winter and into the spring.
And then my guess would be, I mean, let's just say something weren't to be approved at either the level of People's Congregational Church or the city of Bayport, the district, I'm sure, is looking at other options.
We are, absolutely. Yep. And again, I told this to the mayor when we initially talked back in January. I said, in a perfect world, in my experience, having been a leader in small towns and from my experience overseas, schools are very important pieces of a community. And as a superintendent, my preference is to keep the school in Bayport, and that's what we've been working towards.
We appreciate the updates. Are there any other questions? Great. And I'm sure community members can email questions and if they have concerns to the school board, which also goes to you. And so we're happy to partner with anyone and to address issues, and we might not have answers, but we're certainly collecting all the feedback and information for future discussions when the time is right. So thank you very much for that update. The board chair report, I do not have one this evening, and we will move on tonight to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is on the screen. And I will make a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, Director Petrie with the second. All those in favor of approving tonight's consent agenda, raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Yeah.
Opposed? Motion passes. And that went to H. Sorry, that wasn't on. A to H. Did I say I? Okay, so now we're moving on to strategic direction C, which is utilize systems and align resources in an efficient manner to support learning. Our first item is an action item, and it's the adopt the preliminary proposed property tax levy 2023 payable 2024. Welcome.
Thank you.
There you go.
There. Okay. Good evening, Chair Sherman, members of the board, Superintendent Funk, members of the community. So this evening, we have before you a presentation, and with me this evening, I have Jody Zesba, who is a senior municipal advisor from Ellers, and she will be jointly presenting some information in the presentation on our tax levy impacts. So with that, what we're looking to, the purpose this evening is to provide an overview of our preliminary proposed excuse me, 2023 payable 24 property tax levy, and then also to set the date for our Truth in Taxation meeting, which involves our hearing for the public. Some of the key messages here for our levy is our preliminary certification as part of an overall process, and that does involve certifying our levy to the county auditor and our Minnesota Department of Education by September 30th. The date is October 2nd this year because that September 30th falls over the weekend. And it's based on levy calculations that are provided by the state in late September. We had our last levy run late yesterday evening, so we were doing calculations up until yesterday. The revisions to the levy are still being made. There could be some changes, not likely, but I'll never say never. Certifying the maximum in this case allows for that flexibility. After October 1st, the levy can only move downward. And then the school board is scheduled to certify the final pay 24 levy on December 19th. Some of the basics, the authority is established in law. Our budgets are a combination of state, federal, and local funding, and that includes our voter-approved operating bond and technology levies, so it does include those. Unlike cities and counties, our pay 24 school levy is for the following school year, so we're setting that for our 2024-25 budget. And levy revenue, just to give you some context, is about 31% of our overall district's total revenue budget. So some factors that impact school levies, changes in our tax base often result in less state aid. Changes in enrollment, and as you are aware, our enrollment is increasing and is projected to increase over time. Legislative changes, so that was significant for us last session. So we had a lot of formula changes that did impact some of our levies. Referendum inflationary increase, that for next year was over 2%. So we saw some changes with our operating our referendum. And then pension contribution changes that are required by law, employment changes that drive our severance and unemployment levies, and then capital bonding, bond refundings, abatements. You can see long-term facility maintenance, health and safety projects, lease costs, all of those facility type levies. So the print is very small here. This is also available out in the bond book for those that are also following. I'm just going to highlight some of the overall changes from our current certified pay 23 levy to our proposed pay 24 levy. Some of the overall areas in our general fund levy, first and foremost is our operating referendum. And that's due to inflation. So you'll see those, just those first couple lines overall. With some of our enrollment change, the projected numbers and the inflation factor in there, you'll see just an increase there of just shy of about $1 million between the couple lines there. And then the next area that is seeing a larger change is our capital projects referendum, which is the tech levy, otherwise known as. And you'll see that's an increase about 1.1 million. And again, that's another due to the net tax capacity or overall tax capacity. Operating capital is another area that just had a slight increase, about 250,000. And again, that's due to some changes in the formula and also enrollment. And then the last one is our long-term facility maintenance funding, and that's due to some planned projects in our long-term 10-year plan. But it's also offset by adjustments, so you have to look at the long-term facility maintenance line and also the prior year adjustment line and net those together. The overall plan there is about 7.6 million, so the increase is about 1.4 million. So, and that was planned within the July application that we submitted to the board.
Yes, Director Petrie?
I have a question about the tech levy, the increase. You talked about net tax capacity. Can you explain that a little bit more? Is that just that we have more people in the community who are paying taxes, or how can you explain that net tax capacity?
Yeah, so more property value, really. So all of the values then, the tax base has grown. Values on existing properties have gone up, but you've got growth due to new properties too. And when your voters approved that levy, they approved a rate that's applied against your net tax capacity. It's actually your prior year net tax capacity. So assessment year 22 values increased quite a bit. So that is the driver of that. But yeah, that is, again, a voter approved rate. Your operating referendum is based upon enrollment, but the tech levy is based upon tax base and the rate that the voters approved for you.
Okay, thanks for that clarification.
Yep.
Actually, I had a similar question, but to piggyback off that, as part of that tech levy, our businesses, I seem to remember businesses might be taxed slightly different under capital.
Yep, so on an operating referendum, you have two different tax bases that your taxes are spread on, and it's complicated in the state of Minnesota, but operating referendum is spread on what's called referendum market value tax base, so your residential taxpayers, residential homeowners actually pay at a little higher rate. Net tax capacity has a little bit higher impact on commercial properties and other properties outside of residential homes. So that they do affect your different property owners in a different manner. Yes.
We have a fly right here, going from person to person.
Oh, was I getting someone else first? Okay.
I had it.
All right.
Great. Yes. Director Forbeni, did you?
Oh, you were flying.
Got it. Everyone's going to be doing that. Great.
And then the next levy category is our community service fund, and that saw a slight increase. Overall, it was our basic community education levy and our school age care for before and after school programs. So you'll just see a couple areas that had slight increases. This was also an area where there were a lot of legislative changes in the formulas and some increases that allowed for the levy changes. And then last but not least,
did you? Yep.
And go back for the early child family. So that's obviously a negative change. Is that tied to the formula, or is that other factors that are tied to that?
some of it's also tied to the formula, but it's also tied to some of the other areas like adjustments and some of the current or services, what we do levy. And I think it's also with the census and some of the other areas that we have.
0 to 5-year-olds in particular,
Yes.
I think the count.
And then last but not least is our debt service fund. And basically this, we are required by the state to levy 105% to meet our debt obligations. So you'll see that on that bottom line there. And then that we, over time, look and adjust that. And what you see right there is just that net increase to overall pay our obligations and our debt. And then this just sums it all together. The proposed pay 24 levy, you'll see that total is 55.9 million for a total increase of just a little over 5.9 million. And that is right now what is being proposed as our preliminary levy for adoption this evening. And what we are recommending is that the adoption be the maximum, as there may be changes. Again, it's not certifying a final levy. I just want to remind the board that. And the levy after October 1st can go downward. We just can't increase.
Unless the voters approve it.
Exactly.
Right. Great. Thank you for all that information.
And then what Joan is going to do is pull up the estimated annual property tax impact and just what that would look like with just our property taxes before, and then with the bond levy.
Yeah, so I can just orient you to this. We've been working back and forth, and we really appreciate Marie and her diligence because she summarized that information from you, but I know you've probably seen the levy report. That's 39 pages in size 4 font of calculations. So it's been a lot of back and forth and looking at things, and so again, thank you for all that you've done and reviewing things and working together on it. So this is how it's all coming together for you at this point in time. You'll see the different types of properties and values within those categories. The actual taxes that are currently being collected in that first column for taxes payable in '23, and I'll just draw your attention to that $500,000 line item. That's the chart that Dr. Funk showed earlier, how you compare to neighboring districts, because that's your median value. Right now, they're paying $1,615. With all of the levies and everything that Marie just described, they would be paying $1,607, or a decrease of about $8, assuming their value stayed the same. We know everybody's individual properties changed by probably varying amounts, so we're just showing you apples to apples comparison so that you can see if your value stayed the same where you would be. And that's consistent with the way we've been showing the information on the bond referendum too. So then there is a column that shows the estimated impact of bond referendum with updated values that Washington County published for Stillwater at the end of August. We're now estimating a little bit less of an impact for the bond referendum, so it had been $201 annually. Now we're a little under 200 at $197, so that's great news, and that rounds to $16 a month rather than $17. So then, assuming that referendum passes, those last two columns then show you what the total tax statement would look like on an annual and monthly basis, and we would expect that tax increase then to be $189 on a $500,000 home, or $16 a month. And we will be giving Carissa, assuming you move forward with the proposed action tonight, we'll give Carissa an updated tax impact for her to put on the website related to the bond, since we've got numbers that are a little bit better now at this point in time. Oh, I should also maybe quickly address that there are varying impacts. You'll see that all the residential homes are seeing a little bit of a decrease, and the apartments are seeing a little bit of an increase, and that is due to that mix of property tax levies and the fact that they're spread on those different tax bases. So our referendum market value levies are going down a little bit more than the net tax capacity levies, helping out the homeowners a little bit more and then causing just a slight increase on those other types of properties. So that's how it all comes together in this nice one summarized document, right?
Makes it look easy.
Yeah. No problem. A few pushes of a button. Yeah.
Marie's just barely been sleeping, but
Right. It's true.
we don't know why.
So they're going to want a motion to certify at the max.
Yep. So is there a motion to certify at the max?
Can we go back to the presentation? We have.
Couple final things.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll. So just right before that action, so we have just a couple things on the levy timeline before we recommend the action. The district will mail out some information on the bond levy and then the election, and then we will be, the county will be preparing statements showing that, that estimated property tax information. And then what we'll be asking for this evening is setting that date for the Truth in Taxation meeting to be December 5th and at 6 p.m. time certain, and that'll be at Stillwater Middle School, which will be on our next slide for the information. And then December 19th will be the board meeting to adopt that final property tax levy. So next slide for the recommended actions this evening. So with that, Chair Sherman.
Great, and I guess I just want to have one comment that went to something earlier, because I think that we hear this a lot in the surveys that we do through Morris Leatherman and TeamWorks. Our work with them is always talking about how there is tax fatigue in the state, but it's really not directed at schools. And I think that the charts we've shown tonight that Dr. Funk shared and then that you're showing here, that we really are, as a school district, being very responsible to our taxpayers and trying to keep those taxes down for our constituents. And so we can have that conversation about taxes and how we all, see them going up, but in schools, they're not, and it's just unfortunate because schools are the ones that have to go to voters for the vote. So if there's fatigue, there's always that risk that gets taken out on schools. But I want to make it clear that I think we are being very diligent about what we're asking from our taxpayers. So
can I throw out one quick comment too while we're on this? And one thing that I hear out in the community, I do live in Woodbury, and as I live in Woodbury, there is a bit of jealousy of our district because of the wonderful businesses that we have on property that does get taxed into our district. So that is something that I don't know if everybody's aware of, but it is a huge asset, and we're grateful to the businesses, really big ones coming in to really kind of prop up that tax base a little bit and really help us support our district and actually take down that tax burden for our homeowners. That is one thing in Woodbury. I mean, 2 miles away from, not even, like 10 blocks from my house, not even that far. They're basically paying twice the taxes that we pay on our house. So it is something that we are mindful of and that we are grateful to the taxpayers of our district. And that includes all the businesses as well that really feed into this. And as we keep hearing it, multiple board meetings, our kids need a lot of support, especially these days. So I think certifying to the max makes sense. And just a clarification that looking at that last tax chart, if we certify to the max, those increases are included in that final number.
That's correct.
Is that correct? Okay, that's what I thought.
Based on everything we know today.
As of right now.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Great. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to adopt the maximum. And is there a second? Okay, Director Thielander. All those in favor of adopting the maximum for this proposal, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. And then finally, we want to...
It's on the calendar.
It is on the calendar already.
Yeah,
Okay.
you have December 5th, 6 p.m.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay, so it's already on the calendar. Do we need a motion then, if it's already on the calendar? Yes, just to be safe. Okay, I'll go ahead and make a motion to set the Truth in Taxation meeting for December 5th, 6 p.m. at Stillwater Middle. And is there a second? Okay, Director Thielander. All those in favor of setting the Truth in Taxation meeting as the details on screen show, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much, both of you. Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Okay, our next item is an action item. It's a resolution appointing election judges. So being a resolution, we will need to make a motion in a second and then do a roll call vote. Is there a motion to approve the resolution appointing judges? Great. Director Kelsenberg and Director Lauer with the second. And Joan, roll call, please.
Director Hockert?
Yes.
Director Kelsenberg?
Yes.
Director Lauer?
Yes.
Director Petrie?
Yes.
Director Porbeni?
Yes.
Director Thielander?
Yes.
Chair Sherman?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Great, thank you. Okay, and our next action item is policy 722, public data request. And for that, I believe Bob Graff is coming up. Yep.
Chair Sherman, members of the board, good evening. Okay, I believe we're in action on this policy here. I don't know that we've made any changes from the last time we took a look at it together. Are there any questions that anybody has related to this policy? Comments?
Yes.
Just a quick question here. Is this in relation to the legislative changes that just happened?
There are some legislative, yes, so there were some changes made, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yep, that are reflected in here. Yep.
Exactly. All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Great, and,
I'll second.
okay, Director Porbeni with the second. All those in favor of approving 722, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. And now we're on to a second reading for policy 424, license status.
And no changes have been made since the first reading here, so
Yep.
we're still working with the same version.
Great. Were there any further director questions from the last meeting or since the last meeting? Great. Thank you very much. And there still is opportunity, obviously, if you want to send an email and have any changes. And then we have one more policy, second reading, for policy 708, transportation of non-public school students.
And the same applies here, no changes since the first reading together.
Great. Were there any other questions from directors? Okay. And again, feel free to send feedback as they come. Did you have a question?
Me? I'm debating. Okay, I'm gonna, since you're noticing me reading my notes, it's more just a curiosity question for our transportation. Do our, so when our 834 students have off, like this Friday, I know we do in this policy covers our transportation to non-public schools. So do we continue to transport to our non-public and charters private schools on those days as well?
I believe so. With Mark, do we continue if Stillwater is out and our...
I'm asking just because I heard just this week that
No, it's a good question.
South Wash, they had off on Monday and they do not. So I wasn't aware, but.
Any district I've been a part of, the non-publics are on the same bus calendar.
They follow our calendar.
Right, and if they have school
Calendar.
outside our calendar days, they have to drive.
Got it. Okay, that was just pure curiosity.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, that is it. Under that strategic direction, we're going to move to strategic direction A, ensure the learning process is adaptable to meet individual student needs. And our first policy is district policy 601. This is an action item, school district curriculum.
Hey, Allison, excuse me, so do we miss the school calendar?
Oh, I'm sorry. Gosh, we're full of policies tonight. Policy 602, school district calendar. Sorry.
Good evening. I am bringing before you the second reading of 602, which is the school calendar and school day. And based off of the first reading, we did not have any changes to this policy.
This one I did have a
Yes.
question on. And I realize now that I probably sent the question to the wrong person because I sent it to Bob.
Nope, but I have.
But you
So
have it? Oh, good.
I
Then you
do.
read you in.
Yes.
Excellent. So under section 3B, there's the little reference to a statute. That's section 3B1 and then 3B2. So my question was, what statute did that connect to? And he did get back to me that it's like 120A. Is there any way we could add that reference into the wording here, just so that it's a little more clear? It does reference down below the 123A. It's in under 2, am I losing it?
In B2.
Yep, under B2, it has all those other references to another statute. So it was confusing when I read it, because I thought it was one of those statutes, but I couldn't find it in those statutes. So he helped me out and showed me which statute it was. So is there a way that we could maybe get that reference in there so it makes a little more sense?
Sure.
And is a little slightly less confusing? Thank you.
Great. Any other questions or comments? Okay, now we're going to move to strategic direction A. Ensure the learning process is adaptable to meet individual needs, and we'll continue with policy with Caleb and Don. John, you're going to hang out?
Yep, we're
Okay,
gonna
so
hang out.
policy 601, school district curriculum.
Yeah, so this policy we brought at our last board meeting. I don't believe there were substantial substantive changes. There was conversations about commas and parentheticals and some numbering, but I think substantially the policy did not change from our last reading.
I'm just making sure the changes that I requested were made. While I'm here, I did ask a question regarding the attendance. Do we use attendance just out of curiosity? I know it says in the policy that here are the factors that we use to measure performance and achievement. And I was just curious, do we use attendance? Because I know MDE and the report card now is using it. Is that something we're going to be looking more into?
It's something we'll take a look at for sure.
But we don't do that now.
I don't know that I've brought attendance as part of our data reports, World's Workforce and things like that last year. We can certainly look at that to see what impact that might have.
I guess for me,
The buildings are looking at attendance, especially like with BAR, for sure, but other schools are doing the same thing and looking at that and trying to put interventions in place to help with that.
Great. I just think that that's going to be a data item to be looking at more consistently, just based on the reading that we're all doing through different periodicals and publications. Great. And then my other two comments were just minor in language. Thank you for making this, Joe. Any other comments or questions? Okay, this is an action item. Is there a motion to approve? Okay. Dr. Corbeni, and a second?
Yep.
Director Keldenberg. Okay, all those in favor of approving policy 601, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, now we'll move on to another action policy, policy 616, school district system accountability.
Yes, similar to the last policy, I don't believe there were substantive changes from our last reading. But I'd be happy to take any questions.
Other questions? I think my only one I asked was just, there's referencing that we go to the board for approval. And are those, is that all built into calendars? And can you just refresh our memory when we're coming to the board with those approvals? Like, is that proved? I don't know.
So we had this discussion, so we went through the planning with Teamworks last spring. So this came into, this policy is in action, or you're going to be approving it. I suggested that when we update the 3-year plan next spring, then you approve it at that point in time, rather than just go retro and approve what we worked with Teamworks on.
That makes sense.
So that will be upcoming this school year. We will be doing that.
Perfect. Thank you for answering that.
Yep.
I just have one quick question.
Yes.
Under D, comprehensive continuous improvement of student achievement. Under 3C, I'm just wondering about that green area there. Building teams, 9, 12, 23, remove, shall develop and implement.
So building teams shall develop and implement an education effectiveness plan. I think what she was, that was removed, everything in green is removed.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that got clarified before it
Correct, Joan?
Yes.
Yep.
Goes to where it needs to go.
Yes.
Yep.
Great. All right, all my questions are answered. Any other questions? Great. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve policy 616. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Great. Director Petrie, all those in favor of approving policy 616, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Policy passes. Thank you. All right, and now we have a second reading on policy 613, graduation requirements.
So with this policy, as we were reading through it in the presentation at our last meeting, we identified a few edits that needed to be added. Those are marked here in yellow, articulating the number of credits in line with the high school requirements. Again, the state language in the statute, which MSBA then used as a model for this policy, referenced a credit being 1 year. In our system, a credit is 1 semester because we have semester-long classes which earn a credit. So a full year would be 2 credits.
Great, thank you for making those updates. Yes, Dr. Tucker.
Question, last time we did our reading on this at our last meeting, we talked about number 6, the ethnic studies course, that it may fulfill a social studies, language arts, art, math, science credit. I believe, did we end up narrowing it down to 1, or did we decide not to narrow it down and just keep it?
Yep. The course currently generates a general elective credit at the high school. I know the course is taught by a teacher who's licensed in English language arts, and there are a number of English language arts standards that comprise some of the content of the course because of her background. And so I think leaving this open allows flexibility for that course to continue to develop and grow with board action. So.
Okay, but just the understanding is that the district would list it as in a language arts class, and then that's what you get the credit for, or do people get to pick?
It's listed now as just one of the 11 required electives.
Okay.
So in the schedule, you have to take 4 years, 4 years, 8 credits in language arts. Anything above and beyond that would fill into that general elective area. So some districts may require an elective 3 years of take these specific courses and then take another credit for English. In those districts, this course might fulfill that kind of requirement.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Great. Any other questions on that second read? Okay. And then moving on to a second reading for policy 621, literacy and the READ Act.
Yes, this is the second look at this. I don't believe there were any changes. The language primarily comes directly out of state statute to inform then the model policy.
I just had sent a couple questions. I know there's a lot of changes coming down the pike for all of this, and you're assessing those currently, but is there anything that you've identified yet that you're thinking this is something we need to really keep an eye on? I mean, from a board perspective, the READ Act is a huge change and something that we'll be responsible for as a board and staff. Is there anything that we should know, like in terms of, do we feel like we're prepared to meet these deadlines that are set out? Are they aggressive and we're a little concerned, or what's the general?
I'll answer that. So the PD is aggressive. When we're talking, if we were to use letters training as an example, there's 100 hours, and then I think there's the second component, is that another 100? So that's 200 hours that our staff will have to do, under a pretty tight timeline according to this. So there'll be funding that has to go with it. But so I think again, if we're talking the legislature here, if we are going to have these pretty significant mandates, which I think, if, it's science-backed, this is a great thing. All right, you're going to need to support our school districts with funding to help enact these mandates. The other thing, as I stated to the board previously, they're going to be coming out with, here's the curriculum that is approved for literature, for English language arts. And I'm pretty sure we're not going to have our current curriculum approved, so the state is going to have to provide money to districts, because we're talking millions and millions of dollars, hundreds of millions probably statewide, to implement the new curriculum. So these are talking points for our local legislative team as we get closer to the session in February here.
Okay. I think that's good for the board to know about. And if you're talking to legislators, would timing, would you want to talk about implementation of some of this, or is it more about the funding?
It's the funding, really.
Okay.
Yep.
So if you had the funding, okay. Great. And then I had emailed just a minor edit. I think Jonah made that, so I think if no one else has any comments, we're good on that. All right, thank you. Thanks. Okay, and now we're going to go to Strategic Direction B, foster a safe and welcoming, inclusive environment for all staff and students. And we're having a second reading back with Bob Graff here on overdose medication.
Okay. Second reading, there were a couple of small changes that you can see. Starting at the top under purpose, we wanted to limit the scope of the policy to during the school day as opposed to all school activities. We're not staffed and prepared to handle everything outside of the school day, so that was the nature of that edit. If you look towards the bottom, standing order, a simple change, a direction from a licensed provider. We don't employ a medical provider, so it just made a little more sense to just say a licensed instead of a district-specific medical provider. And if you turn the page to page 2, excuse me, the district planning team, we wanted to add our health services supervisor, who was a member of the team. She was not previously listed, or the title was not previously listed here, so we wanted to add that. And then on the back page, we don't have numerous locations. We have some, but we just said the Knox alone instead of setting it up as many, and then striking some of the language that, again, lends itself to outside of the school day, school activities that we are not staffing and prepared for this.
Great. Any questions on this policy? Yes, Director Hubbard.
Thank you. That last comment was my question, was why did we remove that? So according to the new legislation, are we still okay just covering naloxone in our schools? Like, are we liable if we do take kids on a field trip outside of the school? Does that?
We're not liable either way.
Oh, okay.
We're not liable. We are, this is, I think part of it's interesting this past year, Good Samaritan, there was some discussion statewide whether or not nurses should be trained on this, and if they are, then they're no longer Good Samaritans. So we are, we're doing this to help people. We're not doing this to, you didn't treat my kid or the person who's got this, we're going to sue you. This really allows us to, it provides the umbrella to do it, but I wouldn't say we're looking at it from a liability angle.
Okay, so it doesn't require us to use it if we need it?
We should, but it's not gonna, no, I don't see us being sued for this. I think this allows us to help people.
Got it. Okay.
Not to say that somebody might not try that, but
hopefully not. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Good clarification.
Great. Seeing no other questions, I think that will do it for your policy read here. Thank you, Bob. All right, and now Strategic Direction D, develop strong partnerships with the communities we serve. And with that, Carissa Keister is going to come and do a referendum update for us.
Good evening, Superintendent Funk, Board Chair Sherman, and members of the board. I'm up here, which means it's the last agenda item, so that's exciting. I'm here tonight to share information related to the district's bond referendum, which is on the ballot this fall. As a reminder, early voting is already underway. I've seen a few I voted stickers on people as I'm walking around town, and it will be open until November 6th. There are details on our website on how you can vote early, so you can go to stillwaterschools.org/bond. You can also vote, of course, on Election Day on November 7th. The bond is proposed to address three main objectives: provide more learning space for our growing enrollment, replace our 100-year-old buildings, and improve safety and security. And it's fitting tonight, as we're at Anderson, that I'm going to talk about Anderson and what the new bond would allow us to do here at Anderson. This school was constructed in 1919, and it's the oldest building in our school district. It's also the smallest of all 7 of our elementary schools. One of our speakers mentioned tonight that one of the challenges is with staffing, and I don't think people really understand that until they come to a building like this or hear the conversation. When you have a smaller school community, you don't generate as many staff members. So a lot of our specialists, our media, art, special educators are shared between buildings or only part-time employees. And as a result, we get a lot of turnover. People are looking for full-time jobs. And that really creates a difficult environment for our students to build relationships. It's very important if you have kids in school, you know they have those connections with their FIA teacher and their music teacher and their art teacher. And if that changes every year, that's really a negative for our kids and for the whole school community. So that's one of the areas. There's, of course, just the challenge of being landlocked and not having enough classrooms. A new Anderson would allow for increased capacity to address growth in Anderson, as well as at Afton Lakeland Elementary School. There's growth in that area as well, and so locating a school here would allow us to draw some of those Afton students back up here. A new school would also feature modern learning spaces and a larger campus with access to fields and green spaces and improved, safer traffic flow. I'm going to show a short video to give you a little bit of a view of what it's like here at Anderson and help explain a little bit more about the bond. It helps to kind of see it, doesn't it? We talk a lot about this, but to see that pictures and the video, I think really helps. This video is on our website, along with a lot of other information. I would encourage people to continue to check that out. We're adding new information all the time. Frequently asked questions are being updated. These videos, as they're coming out, are being updated. And so it's a great source of information. I'd also just remind people again that early voting is open, and you can find all the details on our website.
Great.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for Carissa related to Anderson? I know we talked about Anderson in great length during the superintendent report, but great. Thank you so much, Carissa. We appreciate the information that you're bringing to us.
And thank you to Allison, too. She sat in on a recording of a podcast, so we will be releasing a podcast about the bond featuring Dr. Funk and Allison Sherman
Allison
next week.
Sherman and Dr. Funk, you mean?
No, not at all.
So watch for that coming soon, too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. All right. We are moving into closed session. I'm going to read this statement. The next item on the agenda is a closed session. pursuant to Minnesota statutes 13D05 subdivision 3B, the governing body of a public employer may by a majority vote in a public meeting decide to hold a closed meeting for a confidential attorney-client discussion regarding pending litigation in the matter ISD number 834 versus Ian Properties LLC et al. I will entertain a motion that the meeting now be closed for the purposes stated. I'll go ahead and make that motion. And is there a second? Director Thielander? All those in favor of moving to closed session, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We'll move into closed session.
Where are we going?
Yeah, good question.
Good luck. Hey, there's a trick. We got the trick on this thing. It's really cool, actually. It's a button. Nope. It's even better. All right. Well. Joan had a teeth.